Welcome, my friends. This is Financial Empire of History, a channel where money, power, and history meet, and where real events and lived truths are told. Today's story isn't just about battles fought on the front lines. It's also about a war that took place inside vaults and financial ledgers. This was not merely a war of trenches, cannons, or bayonets. World War I was also a financial war, one fought in gold reserves, in bond markets, in central banks, and in the quiet offices of financiers who never stepped onto a battlefield. The soldiers paid with tears and blood, but the bankers and governments, they fought with balance sheets. And every decision they made during those years didn't just shape who won the war. It shaped the global financial system that still affects us today. If you think war is only about armies and politics, think again. Because World War I proved that money itself can be a weapon, and one of the deadliest ever created. In 1914, Europe was already a powder keg. Alliances, colonies, rivalries. Everything was ready to explode. But beneath all those speeches about honor, national pride, and empire, there was a much more powerful reality: money. A war on this scale could only be fought with debt. And here's the harsh truth. When leaders chose war, they also chose debt for their people. Every army that marched to the front line was also marching its citizens into an economic swamp. At first, everyone thought it would be short. They'll be home by Christmas, they said. But the war burned through money, faster than anyone could imagine. In the summer of 1914, Europe was still tied to the gold standard. Paper money was backed by real gold. That system provided trust, but also chained the hands of governments. Gold was limited. It couldn't be printed endlessly. And soon the truth emerged. The gold would not last. One by one, the great powers suspended the rules. The gold standard collapsed. The value of money now depended only on faith in the state. At that moment, the world witnessed one of the greatest turning points in financial history. Real wealth became nothing more than words printed on paper. And once governments tasted that freedom, they never went back. The financial war had truly begun. Germany, cut off from global capital, had only one option: its own people. Invest for the fatherland, the posters shouted. Millions poured their savings into war bonds. But when the war ended, those bonds were worthless paper. A nation's savings were wiped out. And that anger would one day feed the rise of fascism. Britain was luckier. London was the financial capital of the world. Throughout the war, it forged a silent partnership with America. Bankers like J.P. Morgan provided enormous loans to Britain and France. This wasn't charity. It was power. And when the war ended, America was no longer a debtor. It had become the world's greatest creditor. That's how the American century began. Not with cannons, but with ledgers. France shared a similar fate. Once again, it borrowed from America. By the end of the war, Europe was drowning in debt. Britain, France, Germany, all chained to one another, each demanding, pay up. When the war finally ended in 1918, not only cities were in ruins, economies were too. The world's financial system had collapsed. The gold standard was gone. And the ordinary people, savers, workers, small investors, once again paid the highest price. The rich moved their assets abroad. Those close to information protected themselves. But ordinary citizens were left holding worthless money. And this is where the real lesson begins. What happened in 1914 is still happening today. Back then, governments said, "This is only temporary." Today, we hear the same words. Back then they said, "The system is strong." Today, they tell us the same thing. But history does not forgive those who forget. World War I showed how governments could finance wars by detaching money from reality. And that game never ended. Every economic crisis, every wave of inflation, every debate over the debt ceiling, they're all echoes of those years. Once money is separated from truth, it stops being a measure of value and becomes a tool. And those who control that tool are never the ones who pay the price. True wealth isn't in banknotes, digital numbers, or political promises. It lies in knowledge and awareness. History doesn't repeat itself, but it keeps its rhythm. And those who can hear that rhythm are the ones who see through the illusion. If this story gave you a new perspective, then you've already begun to see behind history's curtain. Because history doesn't hide the answers. It only hides them from those who forget.